What is up, everybody? Here with a cabinet you can make for super cheap. It'll be super good and it will fit under your Marshall combo. I've noticed that Marshall doesn't make real nice extension cab speakers. I'm not saying the speaker cabs aren't nice, but they rarely make anything that fits under their combos, which I've always thought is really weird. Combos are, this one anyway, is 24 inches wide, and to get a combo or a speaker cab to match that width dimension is really a struggle. Seismic Audio has one, but it's $150 unloaded. It's empty. It's a nice looking Tolex covered cab, but it's 1/2 inch plywood, and 1/2 inch is pretty thin. It might have been okay, but I'm putting a Swamp Thing in this one, and it's going to sit under the combo, so I wanted it to be robust, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I got out of this for $40 minus the speaker. This is just the cab. $40 got me the wood. It's a 1/4 sheet of plywood. It got me the speaker grill assembly, $10 on Amazon. It got me the little jack in the back, $10 on Amazon. So I spent $18 on the plywood, $10 on the grill, $10 on the jack in the back, and then the paint I had lying around. Otherwise, I would have probably have selected better colors. But as it is, I think the colors work fine, you know. And it's great. Anyway, and it sounds great. Nice. This is the Telecaster. And Marshall has got some really nice bloom. I'm finding, for you people with this Marshall cab combo, the red channel, if you find that frustrating, use the red channel for your bright guitars like the Telecaster and your Stratocasters, and leave the clean channel for your darker guitars. But otherwise, the number 2 channel sounds a little dark or muddy, but if you use it, it breaks up more in channel 1. If you use it with your bright guitars, it sounds really good. And maybe that's what they had in mind. Anyway, I've got more video of how I built it coming up, and the striping job. The plywood, and before you accuse me of clickbaiting everybody, the dimensions I'm going to give you for this 1/4 sheet of plywood cab does not include the front. But you probably have something on in your shack somewhere, or something that's more special, something special to you that you'd like to display on the front, like I did. So the front is not included in the dimensions. But let me tell you about this cool piece of wood. When my best friend in high school's dad was a kid, they had a fruit shed on their property. When I was in high school, my friend and I helped his dad take down the shed that his dad had as a kid on their property, and the shelves were really cool. Old growth pine from the area. Well, not from this area. Old growth pine though. Nice big wide slats of pine put together. Cool stamps on them. They had steel binding, I think you call it, around the shelves. So they're really strong. And then one side was burnt. Burning wood is a natural preservative against rain or sunshine, which is a cool thing to know. So that's why it's burnt. That's all natural. It's kind of distressed, and I left it all stressed out. But on the back of this, and on some of the other shelves I have, there's a nice stamp, and they were actually put together by the Carpenters and Joiners Union of Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. And they have an interesting history. 1890s, 1900s, 1910s. They ran into right-to-work people. 1930s, there was a depression. 1940s, depression or not, we were in the war, and they needed a lot of people building stuff. So on the stamp on this one, it's on the back, but on the stamp, it was stamped November 12, 1941, which November 12 is my birthday, and 1941 is a historic year for World War II. So I thought all that stuff was really cool. So I've got several of these shelves lying around. So that's what I used for the front. It's nice, thick, 3/4 inch plywood or pine, solid pine shelving. and the pieces of pine are really nice and wide. Anyway, and you might have something like that as well. So let's get to these dimensions. We'll get you out of here. All right, so here is our box dimensions. Now you're going to want to cut inside the lines. By that I mean, there's the measurements. Oh, that should say 10 by 24. 10, 14, 10, 14, 24 by 10, 24 by 10, and a 14 by 22.75 with just a little bit of scrap right there. Gets you all the pieces you need, but you will have to cut inside all your lines. Measure each piece after cutting. If you have any woodworking experience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you take the line, you won't have enough board left when you're done. And it's not a big deal. You could even trim all these dimensions by 1/8 of an inch, and you're still going to end up with a really nice box. The scale is 1 centimeter equals 2 inches. And those pieces can all be cut out of a 1/4 sheet of plywood from Home Depot. $18, 5/8 inch plywood that has one good side, and you put the good side out, and then you put the bad side in. Put it together, painted it, caulked all the joints inside, so it's a nice sealed cabinet. The Swamp Thing speaker has a soft rubber insulation on the back side of the basket, so it can be mounted front side or back side, doesn't matter. And then I got a Celestian V30 in the combo from Reverb, new one for $85. Guy had pulled it out of a Harley Benton cab. Harley Benton is selling cabs with vintage 30s in them for dirt cheap, and he wanted a G12 or a V-type, not a G12. He wanted a Celestian V-type for its sparkle and highs, sparkly highs. So it worked out really well for me. Been wanting to get a vintage 30, and I really like the sound, and the two paired together sound nice. But I needed a cabinet that matched the Marshall combo. Frustrated as heck that Marshall doesn't make cabinets that match their combos. Because don't you really a lot of the time want to put your combo on top of a matching cab? I think that's just, yeah, so logical. Anyway, when you're striping, anyway, I got all the directions on some other videos about the build. It was fun. It's great. And it's a custom piece of work with a cool piece on the front from 1941, November 12, 1941. And it sounds great. It's a sealed cab. This one's an open back. That one's sealed with the Swamp Thing in it. I think that was a good move to keep that dirty speaker in a tight box so it could really punch. All right, enjoy the rest of the videos. Any questions, comments, let me know, and I will see you later. So here's the box, roughed out, ready for striping. I did a primer coat, and then I did green and yellow, and now I'll stripe these green and yellow. Whatever I tape over now will be seen. Whatever is not taped over will be that red color right back there. And then I have some black planned for the some final trimming. And so when I stripe this time, I'm going to avoid striping in these combination areas here where I combine the two colors. I will save that for black striping later. And that will take care of all that, that horrible line there where I've got it boxed in. I'll save those areas to cover with black so that we have a nice delineation between the yellow and the red. And then over the top of everything, I'm putting that cool burgundy, reddish, crimson red back there. And it's going to show, hopefully it's going to show through some of the color below, but some of the stripes will still be evident. But at this point, I've got green and yellow, and whatever I tape over will be seen, but that's not going to be the biggest color on the box. My next coat of paint will be what's mostly seen, and that's important to remember when you're doing this kind of stripe job. All right, so I'll tape it off, give it a coat, come back in a second. So quick update on this first tape. You want to have minimal stripes because you want your reddish color
to show through, and then you're going to stripe black on top of that. So you don't want to go too crazy yet, but whatever's under the tape, you'll see. And right in here where you have these lines, you want to be able to stripe that with black last, or some heavier color with a nice line, but we'll tape it later. So right now what I need to do is just cut a section out of those stripes, like I've done here with a hobby knife, utility knife. You can go ahead and tape it, but then anywhere you have, anywhere you've taped over that line, we need to open it up so that later we can come back and fill it with a nice lined black stripe. And also I'm going to black stripe these corners all over. So this is a nice spot to end the tape job as well, because I'm going to come back later once it's all done, tape a nice line, and just use a brush to fill in some of these corners with black and these lines here with black. So I'm not sure if you need to cut the separation out, because you can probably pull all the tape off, retape it for that black line since it's last, but just as a precaution, I'm doing it. Now after my next red coat, I'm going to want to tape heavy, because then I'm going to come back with black, and I want to protect most of my red and the underlying striping. So I'm going to go red coat now, then restripe that heavy, leaving open only where I want black. All right. Hey, Charm. That's my dog. So there's the cabinet, stripes removed, and we'll see. You know, I think it's okay right now. The color combo really pops, and I'm not too worried about the spots that are obviously yuck, gross, because I'm coming back over those with a, I'm going to tape it off again and then brush black stripes over the corners, the edges, and then in like this section here in the middle, I'm going to put a black stripe right through there. And so I think it's going to be, yeah, I don't know. And then I'm going to clear coat the whole thing. Now, if I was spraying the black stripes, I would have a huge taping job ahead of me, because I'd have to cover everything except where I wanted my stripes to be. But because I'm going to just brush it, I'll be able to tape off where I want my stripes. And with a 1-inch brush or so, just paint some black lines through there. And then I'll clear coat the whole thing, put the front board on, speaker. It'll be awesome. All right, well, it's done. Did the final striping. Of course, there's sides I like and there's sides I don't like. The sides I can't see are the sides I like the best. The side out here that I can see, I don't like. It's just the way it goes. But I do dig it. It's loaded with the Swamp Thing. I put a new vintage 30 in the Marshall that I got for 85 bucks on Reverb. And so this has been a ton of fun. Now I'll give you the dimensions and some tips on what to do. I caulked all the inside seams because it's not the tightest fitting box, but it's going to be tight. I mean, there's no air in it. And I'll give you a rundown of all the prices and the parts that I made and everything, parts I bought. All right, cool. So that's the cab, and in final words, it was done with a roller. I painted it with a roller, and if you wanted, you'll notice there's some bleed under the tape, under the stripes where the stuff bled through. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, and it looks great. It's what we used to call in high school a 20-mile-an-hour paint job when we painted cars. And, you know, that takes me back to painting a car in high school with my buddy in my driveway when the folks were gone. We painted his Mustang a Ferrari red, or Porsche red, some bright red. We painted it outside, and we ended up with a section on the back trunk about that big that came out just perfect. The rest of the car had issues, either orange peel or drips or not enough or dull, no sheen. But such good times. But
Painted with a roller, except for the clear coat. Sprayed, you got a can of clear coat, so you got to throw that in, $5 can of coat. If you were to prepare the outer surface better with primer coats, sanding between all these layers, I think your tape would still produce a nice stripe. Frog tape is supposed to be really nice without any bleed through on the paint. And if you want the red, white, and black, then you're going to have to go buy extra paint. I found also it's best not to try to be real fancy with your stripes. Just some straight stripes with varied widths, maybe a 1/2-inch tape, 1-inch tape, and 2-inch tape will give you a nice combination of stripes. Don't try to make them bend or do anything weird. Painting over the corners black in some angle to it is a really nice way to end stripes, and your corners of the cab still look finished because they're black. It gives the illusion of corner protectors. Caulk to the inside. The box was stapled and glued with the 5/8 plywood. It's so firm. It's really strong. There is no handle on it because this is where it's going to sit. I'm thinking about putting the combo down and the box on top of the combo because the top of it turned out great. It would be nice to see more of the striping, but I like the idea of the vintage 30 being higher than the more efficient Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing's a tad bit louder because its efficiency is better. And this gets my controls up where I can tweak stuff while I'm standing and playing. But the two together sound really good. I'm super happy. So that's the final tips. Can't think of anything more, but paint you got lying around, a roller, Sunday afternoon with it being warm to give your paint enough time to dry, and you've got yourself a cabinet for $40, which is going to be a lot tighter than most. All right, Old Guy Jammin's out. Have a great weekend. Be nice to each other. We'll see you next time.